Welcome back to the United Pubcast. Manchester United against Leeds, potentially my favourite game of the season. Now, yes, Liverpool is up there, but whenever Leeds rock up to Old Trafford, it definitely does get the juices flowing. And not only rocking up to Old Trafford, we're rocking up to Ellen Road in a couple of days' time. A very unique circumstance. I'm not sure if it has ever happened before in regards to back-to-back Premier League fixtures. Do let me know in the comments if you have seen this before or with Manchester United. I know sometimes sort of rearranged fixtures can look a little bit like this, or you get someone in the cup and then you get them in the league. The back-to-back Premier League fixtures, first time in a while, or first time in my lifetime or memory. I do remember this happening for Manchester United. It is back-to-back, a 6-pointer against Leeds, almost a home and away sort of European fixture, it does feel like. So got Adam off the bench, replacing Larry. Hope Larry as well. Haven't seen him for a couple of days, but fingers crossed he's back to review the win against Leeds. Hopefully it is a win on Thursday morning, 7 a.m. Sydney time. But Adam, just first of all, talk to me. We were discussing yesterday, obviously we did the Munich tribute with Vin, and so much of the Manchester United discussion on social media and amongst fans was around Munich and the Busby Babes the last couple of days, and sort of we're talking about sort of different generations of fans. We mentioned a bit of a younger fans older than me in terms of they can pass on knowledge and everything. In terms of you have different experiences and different memories and stuff like that, whether it be teams or the Munich air disaster, etc. With Leeds, I want to ask you, because Leeds rolls up so much passion and hatred for me, but as a little bit younger than me in terms of Leeds weren't around in the Premier League in terms of the last 10, 15 years, so you wouldn't have seen Manchester United versus Leeds. So I'm just thinking, when you hear Leeds are rocking up to town, what's your first thought?
Yeah, probably not the team you want around Munich week to come to Old Trafford, especially with their previous records at obviously Old Trafford, Ellen Road, with the chants they sing. So I think there's a bit of you have to expect a few chants that we're probably not going to like as United fans to coming our way on Thursday morning.
Yeah, no, look, that's definitely going to come a lot worse on the weekend, obviously, when we do go to Ellen Road. But that is something, look, the players don't have to deal with it. They'll hear it, and they've got a job to do on the pitch. It's up to us fans, or the fans in the stadium, to behave the right way. But I'll just say good day to some people in the live chat before we do kick on, because there is a lot to get through tonight. There is the match against Leeds, obviously huge. Well, the two matches we'll preview. The preview will probably go into a little bit of both. We do have to sort of look ahead to the future fixture on the weekend, but also big news last night breaking in regards to Manchester City. So I do want to touch on that, because that, again, so many things are bringing me joy as a Man United fan, and Manchester City potentially going back down to League Two does fill me with that. And Vin here saying the title give me mild anxiety in regards to the word relegation. That's Leeds and Manchester City, nothing to do with Manchester United, but we'll touch on that at the end. Justin, good to see you. Dion, as always. Rob from It's a Football Thing, and Matt, hope all is well, boys. And Chris, our amigos, always good to have everyone in the live chat. So do get your thoughts in and how much you hate Leeds. And I was having a discussion with a friend at work the other day, and we're talking about, hate's a strong word. No, I don't hate anyone. I don't hate any team. It's a strong word. I sort of look back and I think, no, I'm not going to hide away from the fact there are things I hate. But I'm not going to hide from the fact and say, oh, no, that's a strong word. I hate Leeds United, that they hate us. I hate Liverpool Football Club. Yes, it's a strong word, but it's my true emotion. I think hate is a true emotion. You can't hide away from that. And I do have a strong hatred towards Leeds United. Where is that born from? I'm not sure. But it is a game. With Liverpool, yes, I have that dislike and hatred, but there is that sort of deep-founded respect. There is a similarity there, which is the reason for the rivalry with Leeds. It's one that gets the blood boiling. And Dion here saying Leeds are appalling, can't even attract slightly competent manager. That is going to be a huge part of the preview in regards to, he came in for so much sort of, not criticism, but so much controversy last season in regards to Manchester United's dressing room leaks and the Ted Lasso things. Obviously, our assistant manager last year, and Chris Armas, the American, is going to be taking charge of Leeds. I do want to touch on that in terms of, can we class this as a new manager bounce? We'll discuss that in a little bit. But just what have you made of Leeds this season, Adam? Because when they came into the Premier League under Marcelo Bielsa, they sort of had that exciting football. Now that exciting football resulted in absolutely getting slapped every time they played Manchester United. But ultimately, they did sack Marcelo Bielsa, and Jesse Marsch came in. I never really saw too much of Leeds on the telly, but they always seemed to be, everyone talked about, still played an exciting brand of football. But ultimately, you do look where they are on the table, just above the relegation zone. And ultimately, if you're in that position at this stage of the season, I don't think Jesse Marsch, the manager, can have any complaints in terms of losing his job. They are in a lot of trouble.
For sure. I think it's only 1 point behind relegation now. I think only 1 point in front of Everton. I only watched Leeds a couple of times this season. The time I did watch them was against Arsenal, and they looked pretty decent in that game, if I say so myself. They were lucky not to get a result. No, they lost 1-0. It was a penalty. they had a penalty, I think,
I
that
think
there shouldn't have
Bamford
even been a penalty, and then they missed the penalty.
Yeah.
But yeah, that game that I watched of Leeds, they didn't look too bad, to be fair. So I was a little bit surprised when I seen them that far down the table. But yeah, I was reports saying Ange Postecoglou might become the new manager, and then he has doubts of even joining Leeds, which tells you exactly where they're at from him managing a side in the Scottish League.
A manager like that, and that's a debate for another day in regards to Australian managers' prospects. But yes, a manager wanting to take the next step in their career, the last thing you need to do is go and take a team in a relegation battle with a couple of months to go in the Premier League. You don't know what situation you'll find yourself in next season. So Ange Postecoglou, look, he might end up there, and I'll have to wait. I'll have to hate him for it. But fingers crossed he doesn't end up at Leeds. And I know Leeds and Australia have a connection there between the two clubs in terms of past players. But that would be a shocking move for Ange Postecoglou, in my humble opinion. But sort of we'll crack on with start 11s because there is a lot to get through. And I'll bring up your start 11 here, Adam. You can just talk to the listeners through your thinking, and also in regards to your thinking, also looking ahead to the next game against Leeds away at Ellen Road. When was our last game? It feels like a while ago. I'm just trying to think in terms of re-jog my memory. So much has happened.
We just played against Palace.
Exactly. Palace. Yeah, but Casemiro red card, of course. So Casemiro is not available. I don't know if I've included Casemiro on my team. I better not have. So I'll bring your team up here. If you can talk everyone through it. You've obviously gone David De Gea between the sticks. A bit of a change, or not change, but Malacia has come in. You're given SABITZER his full debut, and obviously this is under the assumption that Anthony Martial won't be fit. So talk me through what you're thinking there.
Purely just started Malacia over Shaw because I don't think he's played since the second leg of Forest, which seems like it was a fair while ago now. And then I think the other back three picks itself really. Even though I'd like to rest either Varane or Martinez, but just going off the way Ten Hag selects his sides, it seems like he goes full strength every game. That's why I picked them. And Delo's still not obviously, I think, fit enough to start yet. So then our midfield weak at the moment. I think they're the only three midfielders available with McTominay still injured and Casemiro now suspended. And then Weghorst have to start him over Martial. And then Rashford, you can't go past Rashford. And then I still can't see Sancho starting yet neither. So that's why I have to go with Anthony, I think, as well.
In regards to a prediction, I saw you sent through your team, and to be honest, my only real change was the fullbacks. I think Luke Shaw plays and Diogo Dalot started. So, Diogo Dalot over Aaron Wan-Bissaka because he's obviously on the bench and ready to play, I think. In regards to the quick turnaround between these games, eventually Dalot's going to have to play. So I was very close to picking the same 11, but then I thought, well, hang on, we might just have just one 11 and just sort of discuss that. So I thought I will change my 11 just in regards to create a bit of conversation. Now, not so much of what I'm predicting or I want to see, but almost just a possibility which I think people should have in the back of their mind. So I'll bring up my start 11. As I said, predicted, I would very much go along the lines of what you have, maybe a slight change at fullback potentially, just in what I think is a possibility. And this might sound stupid, but I'll talk my way through it if possible. Obviously, going David De Gea, the fullbacks, as I said, I think Dalot is fit and ready to play. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been playing non-stop, so I think this is a chance. Back-to-back games against Leeds, play one or the other. Play Aaron Wan-Bissaka at Ellen Road as first choice. Dalot, when in a game we should get a lot more possession, play Dalot in this game. Shaw and Malacia, flip of a coin. I think Luke Shaw should play. As I said, the three fit midfielders, they're going to pick themselves. SABITZER's going to get a full home debut. Fingers crossed all goes well for him. Now, up front is where I'm changing things, just in regards to let's go under the assumption that Anthony Martial isn't available. So obviously Weghorst up front, which I do think was the likely option. But I'm just thinking in regards to the weekend where Erik ten Hag did take off Alejandro Garnacho, and I did make the point in regards to his man management, I think I wouldn't be shocked if Garnacho gets rewarded with a start because it's a tough situation for a manager and the player to be in that situation where you have to sub a substitute. So I'm just thinking to keep Garnacho in the good books, and his performances have warranted more game time now. He's obviously in a tricky spot in terms of Marcus Rashford is the one ahead of him. So no matter how good you perform, the player ahead of you is performing even better. So he's in a tough spot. But I think just in regards to man management, not only in regards to performances on the pitch, but also keeping in mind his contract situation, I just wouldn't be shocked if it sort of doubles down and sort of rewards Garnacho for his behaviour in terms of allowing that substitution to happen sort of seamlessly and smoothly. I think he's got to reward Garnacho with a start, or I think that is a possibility. And if so, well, Rashford still has to play. So that's where I think if Anthony Martial isn't fit, can you play Weghorst twice in a couple of days? Obviously you can, but I think there's an opportunity where you could potentially rest Weghorst and play Rashford through the middle. And on the right-hand side, flip of a coin. Yes, I think you're right with Anthony. But ultimately, I think this is part of the season. We say it every week, but you're right in regards to Erik ten Hag does play full strength. He's got to rotate eventually. He's going to have to give people minutes here and there. So this is my thinking. Now, the reason I don't think this will be the 11 is that's a lot of changes. Now, I don't think he'll make that many changes. But just on paper, in the isolated situations of all these players, I think there is a situation where we do see a lineup like that. But just your thoughts on that in regards to Garnacho. Like, just what is the situation around him? Because it's a contract situation. It does look like he's going to sign, but that is sort of overhanging. I'm sure there'll be no shortage of suitors looking at the situation to see if they can tempt him away from Old Trafford. His performances are warranting game time, but ultimately it's Marcus Rashford ahead of him, so he might find it a little bit hard. And I'm just thinking, how does Erik ten Hag manage this? Because Erik ten Hag, as I say, he's going full strength. He's going one game at a time, just get the 3 points. He's not worried about someone's performance in 3 weeks' time. He's worried about Saturday. I'm just thinking, how do you think he's managing, or should he change anything in regards to the Garnacho situation?
That's the thing. He's in a sticky situation because Rashford's in the form of his life, and I think he has to start. And obviously, his best performances are off the left, so that's why I can't really. I do see a point with Garnacho starting because he obviously come on and then taken off with the red card. So, like you said, with the man management, but I don't know if you do that with the form Rashford's in and move him to the centre really, and then drop Weghorst. I think, to be fair, I think Weghorst has been performing well.
Very good.
Garnacho deserves to play for sure. I think he's just unfortunate at the timing where Rashford has come into form. Really, if it was last season, for example, Garnacho's performing like this, he gets in over Rashford every single game last season. But in this season, it's a completely different story.
No, yeah, look, and it's sometimes that happens in football in terms of, you look at the way Marcus Rashford burst onto the scene. He shouldn't have burst onto the scene because there was 3 or 4 players ahead of him. It was just injury after injury after injury. He found his way there. Sometimes the luck works in your favour. Sometimes in Garnacho's situation, it's maybe working against him in regards to the player in front of him is in such good form. And that's just in Garnacho's case, that's just unlucky timing. But just in regards to Weghorst, I think he's performing well. I think the fans have a lot of time for him in regards to his doing his job. And as I say, I sort of, when I did put Marcus Rashford through the middle, I saw you sort of react, yeah, he's a left winger though. He's not really that man to lead the line. I'm just thinking, ultimately, Weghorst is our only striker. I know Anthony Martial's there, but I can't include him in team selection. I have to put him to the side. So ultimately, are we going to get into a situation, we're talking about running Bruno into the ground, Wan-Bissaka into the ground, Casemiro into the ground. We're going to eventually, Weghorst is a big guy. He just physically looks like someone who you're going to have to manage in terms of how much oxygen those muscles need. And I'm just thinking there is going to have to come a time where you do have to rotate the big man. And I think the only other option through there is fit is Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I think we have to sign at least 2. I think we need to sign 2 strikers in the summer, to be honest. But yeah, I agree. He can't play every week. Or so many of our players playing 2-3 games a week. It's going to be hard to keep a lot of them fit by the end of the season.
We say Bruno's the one. We always say, well, Wan-Bissaka needs a rest. Marcus Rashford needs a rest. Casemiro, we need to manage his game time. Not one word is mentioned about Bruno Fernandes. He plays every minute, well, not every minute, but pretty much first name on the team sheet as the captain. He plays so much, but the discussion is not around Bruno Fernandes in terms of resting him. I'm just thinking, no matter what game, he's always, we'll include Bruno. Now, is that down to the importance of him and how he's playing and how Erik ten Hag sees him, or do you think it's down to a lack of options in terms of who's the other number 10?
I think it's all 3. I think it's how important he is at the moment, how he's performing, and also I don't think he's even been injured since he's joined us. I think actually he may have. I think he was injured for a week or so. I don't even know if he missed a game.
It's very good injury record.
2 seasons now, and it's honestly probably one of the best injury records I've ever seen. Never injured, always available. The best ability is availability in football, and that's what he's got.
100%. That ability is criminally underrated. Bruno Casemiro want to play every game. Yeah, definitely, and I'd love to see him play every game. It's a very interesting discussion, and I think Erik ten Hag alluded along the lines of they can play every game. That, as I say, they have that ability to maintain their fitness and desire, and so that is a huge thing. So definitely not complaining, but it's one of those ones we will complain if they pick up an injury. We think, they should have been rested. So it is a tricky one. Question here from Matt: how many red cards are we expecting Thursday morning? Can you see a situation where maybe not this game? I think Old Trafford, I think Manchester United will dominate and it will become, fingers crossed, a sort of run-of-the-mill game. But away at Ellen Road, the fans will be up for it. In my opinion, it was the game of the season last year away at Ellen Road. The fans are up for it, both home and away. 4-2 goals, tackles flying in. I'm just thinking in regards to what we're seeing from players at the moment, which is a good thing, the fight, but obviously we've got Lissandro Martinez out there. We've got players like Anthony who have bite. Matt here, this was McTominay's game, both home and away. He does suit these games against Leeds in regards to the fight he does bring, and the pitch is quite open, which obviously suits the way Scott McTominay plays. I think every time he played against Leeds, he was in a more box-to-box role, but he isn't fit. But could you see a situation where you do see red cards? Because now I'm not thinking about red cards for the 90 minutes, okay? The player gets sent off, okay, you make a sub and you move on. I'm now thinking about League Cup. What ramifications if you get sent off in the Premier League? Does that mean you're going to miss the League Cup final? I don't think it is, but maybe there is a situation like that.
Yeah, that's the thing with Casemiro. I think if United appeal it and then it gets knocked back to 4 games, because that's what happens, the 4th game might be the League Cup final. So that's why I don't think United would appeal it. Yeah, which is ridiculous when you think of the Bruno Guimaraes scenario. But I'm scared of Anthony. I don't know whether it's going to be against Leeds or whoever. He's very hot-headed. He gets someone comes in with a bad tackle and he's up straight away. He's ready to fight. He's got that Brazilian hunger in him. I think it's just that South American hunger. They're so passionate about like the sport, themselves, the club. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the things, and when that happens, whether it be Martinez or Anthony or this time in Casemiro, we're sort of going to, maybe we didn't actually criticise Casemiro because he really didn't do anything too bad, but let's say Anthony got sent off there for pushing someone in the back, we would very sort of harshly and probably rightly so criticise Anthony for that. But it's also, if we want the positives that he brings, that's the price you pay. He has that temper, so we're going to have to celebrate that. We celebrate it with other players. Roy Keane, how many red cards did Roy Keane get? It was part of him. In terms of if you want the performances and the leadership, the price you have to pay for that is occasionally going to miss a few games through suspension. So it's something you do need to manage and sort of get in Anthony's ear as he matures. But I don't think it's anything to, not that you're suggesting it is, but something that you just sort of have to just to allow and just okay, it is part of it. But new manager bounce for Leeds. Is this a new manager bounce? Obviously, Chris Armas, who was the assistant manager at Manchester United last year under Ralph Rangnick, is going to be the caretaker for these next 2 games. Now, we saw on the weekend, Everton against Arsenal, Sean Dyche came in, textbook manager bounce. Is this a new manager bounce for Leeds, or because he's in the setup, it'll be same old, same old? Yeah,
I'm not really too sure. Like, I'm not really scared because, hey, was it United last season, the AirPods, man? But
do you think the players will? Because the information from the leaks we got from Manchester United players last season was they weren't a fan of this guy. There was the stuff about Ted Lasso and all this, and there was obviously tension between the coaching staff and the players. This is the same group of players, obviously sprinkled with 1 or 2 new additions. But do you think these players like Diogo Dalot, Luke Shaw, David De Gea, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, etc., do you think, did you buy anything into those leaks? Do you think they will not have a point to prove because we're obviously far above Leeds on the table? But in regards to Chris Armas, there will be a bit of a let's get one over this guy, or do you think that's just media stuff?
Yeah, I think that's what it could be. It could be let's get back at him, but who knows? Who knows what you're reading now with United on social media? Half the things you read are just absolutely ridiculous, and you think, how do people even tweet these or post these? You just think, how can you even believe it yourself when you write it? But yeah, who knows? I don't really think it'll be a manager bounce, but come every season, we always play teams as soon as their manager gets sacked. Last season, I think it happened with Villa,
every club,
and I think it happened again with Villa this year.
Every club, Emery,
and it was this season with Emery as well. And then last season, it was with Villa as well, wasn't it? Because we played him in the FA Cup, and then was it the league? And it wasn't a new manager bounce. I think it was just we played them real close to each other within 4 days.
I think it might have been FA Cup in the league. Look, I definitely get that feeling in regards to that new manager bounce, but you speak to other clubs and they all feel the same thing as well. Like, I just think because of the managerial merry-go-round, I think because so many managers do change jobs, every second week there is a new manager. So someone's up against that new manager bounce, but it definitely does feel like that with Man United, or like if the team needs a win, if they've gone 7-game losing streak, they rock up at Old Trafford and you think, oh God, if they're ever going to sort of get a win, it's going to be at a place like this. But I think every fan from every fan base do have that feeling. I'm sure Leeds are looking at Man United, God, we've got this team on this winning streak. We always play the teams on winning streaks. So it is one of those things. But usually this game, and I'm sure come kickoff, Adam, the nerves will take over and I'll be absolutely petrified. I won't enjoy the 90 minutes. I'll absolutely love it at full time if we win, but it's the type of game I don't enjoy, just the fear of losing. But ultimately, sitting here 24 hours, 48 hours before kickoff, I'm relatively confident. I just think away at Ellen Road, that's a different story. I pencil in drop points at Ellen Road, and I'll discuss that closer to that match. I'm not confident at all there. But this match at Old Trafford, I think Man United rock up and do a quite comfortable job on Leeds.
Yeah, for sure. I would predict a 3-0, to be honest with you. I don't see them much as a threat. Because I think maybe because I'm a bit younger and I haven't really seen Leeds much in the Premier League. But I'm even before Leeds games, I don't get nervous. Like, it's not like we're playing City or a Liverpool or an Arsenal where I'm nervous. It's just, for me, it's obviously different to obviously yourself. But yeah, I'm never really nervous when I play Leeds.
Well, the good thing about since Leeds have been up in the Premier League, the good thing is they have been absolute shit. How they haven't been relegated is beyond me. So long that may continue, George. Good to see you. Good morning, obviously evening here. Now, so both confident of a win. We'll get into the Ellen Road fixture on the weekend. I'm not confident. Even if we beat them 5-0, I'm not confident away at Ellen Road. It is just one of those things. As a Man United fan, we're flying high. Manchester City, that is the next topic. I don't know what to make of this. As I said, yesterday we were doing the Munich tribute. If you haven't gone back, go back and if you didn't watch it, go back to the last video on the page. Vin and I had a chat about Munich, all things. So yesterday I really made a note of staying away from Twitter and football news and sort of just focusing on Munich and the Busby Babes. But it was hard to sort of hide from the breaking news last night that Manchester City have been charged with financial fair play sort of issues. I'm not a lawyer. I've read all the rules. I have no idea what they mean. I think in layman's terms, it's very simple in terms of what we expect in terms of Manchester City owners propping up sponsorship deals, and in terms of Man City, their shirt sponsorship deals are worth more than Real Madrid's and Man United's. That's sort of just physically not possible. So I think in terms of, I think we know exactly what it is in terms of who's the owner for Manchester City. They own Etihad, don't they? So it's Etihad sort of pumping that money in. Yeah, so I think we obviously everyone knows they're guilty. Manchester City know they're guilty. The FA know they're guilty. UEFA know they're guilty. The fans know they're guilty. It's one of those things in terms of the highest paid lawyers in the world have a very good way of sort of working around contracts and these discussions. So time will tell. Unfortunately, from my limited knowledge of this, it does look like this is going to take years to resolve. So don't get your hopes up that Manchester City are going to be playing League Two football next season. That's not going to be the case. Or if you're an Arsenal fan, don't expect City to get dock points. This is something that unfortunately could take 3 or 4 years to solve. And look, with that time, who knows, Manchester City might escape with a slap on the wrist like every other time. But just your thoughts when you did see the news break in terms of does it fill you with any excitement, or you just sort of shrug your shoulders, it is what it is? Or do you see a real scenario where Manchester City aren't just in for a fine, which is sometimes this is what it is. You get a 10 million fine or £15 million fine, which is huge, but for Manchester City is absolutely nothing. Do you think there is more in this where they could face stripping of titles, points deduction, or fingers crossed, from Manchester United's point of view, relegation?
I can't see them getting relegated. I can see maybe a point deduction when it's over. But even then, when it's over, when this investigation's over, the investigation apparently has been going on for 4 years now. So I just strip them of their titles that they've won, have a transfer ban in, and maybe ban them from all UEFA competitions. They will never relegate them. I can't see that happening, just because not how big they are, but just how good they are. And obviously, they've tried to
I do know what you feel there in terms of, and again, my limited knowledge of what the rules are. Chris says here, what were the breaches then? Look, there's over 100. I think there's 115 or something. George makes the point here. And the way it was reported, those 100, as he said, some of them were quite sort of superficial ones in terms of the grass being too long. So the way those 100 were reported, I think in regards to real issues, there might have been 20 real issues, but potentially I'm not sure. But in layman's terms, it is sort of breaking financial fair play regulations. But in terms of that, a big discussion amongst Manchester United fans, and a lot of it is tongue-in-cheek. A lot of us are just having a bit of a laugh at sort of City's expense, which is fully understandable. But there is also a genuine discussion to be had. Manchester City now, if they're going to be stripped of the Premier League titles that they have won in that time, so I don't know how many titles they've got there, but we obviously as Man United fans look at the ones where 6, bloody hell, they've been successful over the last decade. But Jesus Christ, they're catching our 13. But God, that's depressing. If they've won 6 Premier League titles, I thought they were on 3. Doing far better than I thought. Thanks for that, Adam. But in regards to the seasons that we finished second, the big one is the 11-12 season. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, Aguero, all that sort of schmozzle. As a Manchester United fan, this won't happen. We won't get awarded the title. But if City are stripped of a title, are you a fan of a second place taking that title? Because if it's the Olympics, first place gold medal, they get stripped, the silver medal goes to gold. Now, again, I'm not saying I want those Premier League titles, but there is a part of me, I'll take it. Like, I'm just thinking, just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the same boat as you. I take it, but to me, I don't think it really bothers me because it's not like we're in the moment of it happening. Like, it doesn't change the fact of that Aguero moment happening. It's just, well, it does because it happened for nothing because it's stripped off them. But it's still the fact that in that moment, we're all upset that we didn't win the Premier League and they've just had that moment. And even with the 17-18 season under Jose and then even 2021 with Oli,
I think it was
second as well.
I think
it was three
seasons we would have won it.
Yeah, it was three.
My only concern there, my biggest concern there, you say our 3 titles, which I'll gladly take, and there I give Solskjaer a Premier League medal, I give Juan Mata a Premier League medal, and all these things. I give Sir Alex Ferguson one more. My big fear, I'd have to go back and see what Liverpool did. Did Steven Gerrard get a Premier League title?
He would get one.
Yeah, so I wouldn't take any. Yeah, okay. I'll gladly. Juan Mata can wait for his Premier League title. He doesn't need it to. Sorry, box here. Michael Owen was robbed of his second EPL title in 2012. But players of Jose Enrique, Liverpool, Lucas Leiva, they all came out with sort of just a bit of banter in terms of tweets saying, "Do we get a Premier League medal now?" But I'm sure that is a thing for players in terms of something they could technically get on their CV. If the opportunity is there. Again, I don't think that is the case. George here, I think, is very right in saying I don't think the season should be declared null and void. If the team's stripped, but definitely across no one won the Premier League title that season. Bit of an asterisk because it's so hard in regards to the season. We talk about, okay, should second get the Premier League? Okay, that's a discussion. Well, if you're doing that, what about the team who got relegated? What about the team who got relegated 10 years ago? What position are they in off that relegation? If Manchester City beat them home and away, took 6 points off them, and they got relegated by 3 points, what position would they have been? So it's so hard to sort of evaluate the season and the sort of the ramifications of that. Dion here in regards to the case, yes, they have been found by UEFA previously and a slap on the wrist, but he does make the point this is very different to the UEFA case. As per Premier League rules, they can't appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which means the process can't be dragged out over several years. So yeah, my understanding, again, my very limited understanding in regards to the UEFA financial fair play and how that correlates to the Court of Arbitration for Sport is I don't know what the term is, so maybe a legal person or a lawyer can sort of rejog my memory, but in regards to sort of time stamped in regards to they can't go back 5 years, they can't go back 7 years, where this Premier League investigation, the financial fair play allows the investigation to go back to whenever it wants to, and where Manchester City sort of got over hurdles and threw a few loopholes with UEFA and the Court of Arbitration was that UEFA couldn't go back to when they needed to. By the time they did, that investigation was over. But I think the Premier League can go back to pretty much when they got taken over in 2008. So that is where a lot of Manchester City fans and a lot of experts think, well, that is the advantage the Premier League have over what the investigations UEFA did. So if there is anything else in the live chat, get cracking. And before we do wrap up, whether it be Manchester United, Manchester City, or anything else, but Box here, Man City need to hand their FA Cup over to Watford, who they beat in the final. Yes, they did beat. What was the other FA Cup final? I'm thinking of Manchester City and Watford.
They beat. I know they beat Spurs in a final. I don't know if it was the League Cup or the FA Cup.
Sorry, no, Wigan beat Manchester City. I remember that one. Yeah. Well, Wigan don't need to be handing that title back. But again, I look at that, and I don't know if Manchester City won the Premier League that season. I'm not sure, but they won the FA Cup. But again, Wigan got relegated the next season. You look at the position Wigan are in now, and I'm just thinking we're talking about, should we'd be awarded that penalty, that Premier League trophy? Well, Wigan we should be awarded another spot in the Premier League. So I think it is so hard. And I think because of those ramifications and players losing managers losing their jobs, clubs losing their status as Premier League, the financial ramifications, that is where you do look and what is the appropriate punishment for Manchester City. And that is where I do look at it. And people say, give them a fine or dock points or transfer bans. I think a genuine possibility and a genuine sort of rightful punishment is relegation, not just relegation. And now tell me, is this me? Is it just a biased Manchester United fan or I'm talking out my ass? But I do think it's not just relegation. I think in terms of the impact, I'm sure you go back to 2010, a team who got relegated. I'm sure that not just in the Championship, I'm sure there's a few teams in League One, League Two and the Conference. I'm just thinking the ramifications should be for Manchester City to drop down to the bottom of the pyramid, go down to the Conference League. Because I think in terms of the way they have impacted the football pyramid, teams have found themselves towards the bottom of that.
Yeah, I agree, but it's too hard to, like you were saying before, it's too hard to go back and see where teams were. But yeah, I don't know. I could see the same. Yeah, I did exactly the same with Rangers, even Juventus years ago. I think when
Juventus.
Alex Ferguson tried to get Del Piero off them, but then he wanted to stay, kept taking back up to the Serie A. But I don't know. I'm into two minds. I think I want them to get relegated to even League Two, but I just can't see it happening.
Pointing from George as well, we can dream all we want, but unfortunately City have built themselves up to a level where the Premier League needs them for revenue purposes, so they won't be punished. There's definitely a element of that in the discussion. But a question here for you, Adam, Dion here. Pep Guardiola. I'll put it out there now. One of them, Klopp or Pep Guardiola, leaves this season. I don't know who. I don't know. Not sure which one. But off the back of this, I can really see Pep Guardiola. He's spoken previously about if the hierarchy above me ever does something like this, they told me they don't. If they did, I would walk out tomorrow. Now, is he going to leave on tomorrow morning? Of course not. But in regards to tomorrow, let's say at the end of the season, I think there is a situation where Pep Guardiola leaves.
I think I could see a situation if they. It's too hard to predict. I think Klopp may leave. Actually, but Klopp has said before he will never leave Liverpool. The only time he'll leave is if they sack him, and I can't see them ever. So I think actually I've made my mind. I think it's going to be Pep. I think Pep leaves.
What's better for Manchester United, Klopp leaving or Guardiola leaving?
Yeah.
It's got to be Pep.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Guardiola, because see where Liverpool are at the moment, but I think Guardiola is just so important to that City side. I see. Yeah, it has to be Pep.
See what happens to City now. Yes, they have the football structure now. Hopefully, that structure is sort of relegation battle in League Two. But ultimately, they do have a good footballing structure. So a new manager comes in and should have all the tools and all the resources, illegally or legally, depends how you look at it, to sort of carry on from what Pep Guardiola has built and be successful. But ultimately, who replaces Pep Guardiola at Manchester City? Like, in terms of, if Eric Ten Hag wasn't at Manchester United, you would say it would be Eric Ten Hag. He would come in from Ajax and he would go to City. Now, thank God that's not the case. We have him. Ultimately, who is the next manager off the rank who's going to come in and sort of just fit seamlessly into what City have done?
Well, I always thought Arteta would take over Pep when Pep leaves. But after seeing what Pep said about Arteta, he doesn't celebrate when City used to score against Arsenal, and how well Arsenal are actually doing this season, what Arteta's kind of built himself. Now I can't even see him going there. I can't see him leaving unless City offer some massive wages to him that he can't deny. But I can't, other than Ten Hag, Pep, and Arteta, there's no one that really plays that same kind of style of football. So I really have no idea, and no one will ever make City as good as what they have been. Because I think Pep's up there with Alex
definitely
Ferguson.
Be a natural. Yeah, there'll be definite natural sort of fall, and that's natural. That's not to criticise. Look at Sir Alex Ferguson. As soon as he left, we knew there was going to be a drop off. Now we didn't foresee it being such a big drop off. But that's a natural thing. And as Eric Ten Hag said, the moment he walked through the door, errors always come to an end. Fingers crossed that they come very soon for Liverpool and Manchester City. But I go back to that quote from Eric Ten Hag and say, hopefully that is something we're framing on the wall in 10, 20 years' time in regards to his first press conference. Because it does look very positive for Manchester United at the moment, especially on the pitch. We'll see what it means off the pitch in a couple of months' time when the ownership situation is resolved, or if you listen to the latest reports, it's potentially not going to happen, but there is still the possibility, which you go back to the Glazers' statement when they put the club up for sale. A huge part of that statement was not just selling, it was potential investment. There's still a possibility where the Glazers still do stay in charge of Manchester United and just seek that investment, which you would think, which would be to fund a new stadium or fund the rebuild of a stadium. But have enjoyed that. As I said, we'll quickly wrap up now. We'll start to wrap up. So anything else in the live chat you do want us to discuss, throw it in there. And we'll quickly touch on it before we do wrap up. But always a pleasure chatting Manchester United against Leeds. As I say, Liverpool is the biggest game. Then you do look at derbies, and obviously Arsenal obviously stirs up a lot of emotion when they come into town. But for me, Manchester United and Leeds, I don't know the photo behind me. I used to have a Nicky Butt. I've still got it. I'm just not displayed. I might get it up next couple of days. But Nicky Butt scoring against Leeds in the treble winning season was one of the highlights for me of that season. Now, yes, the trophies were, but for me, isolated games, beating Leeds 3-2 at Old Trafford was a huge moment. Many good moments at Ellen Road. And as I said, in regards to the performance last season at Ellen Road, yes, it was under Ralph Rangnick. yes, we had sort of public enemies in regards to Paul Pogba and Harry Maguire running out to Manchester United, but ultimately that 90 minutes I thought was a brilliant performance, a brilliant moment of football. It sort of reminded you what football is in terms of two fans. As I said, hate. It's not just a strong word. It's true emotion. Two fans that hate each other. Tackles flying in. It was rain. It was under the floodlights. So I think it was a perfect game. So fingers crossed we see another game like that at Ellen Road in a couple of days' time. But as I said, after, fingers crossed, Manchester United wipe the floor with them at Old Trafford. Box here saying maybe City can get company. Hopefully he's another Jared Lampard. A very interesting company. Yeah, it definitely is that shout. I can't see that happening, but he'll definitely be throwing his hat in the ring. It would be a big hat, to be fair to him, for Vincent Kompany. But George is saying, how do we end up playing like a team that'll have a new manager bounce more than once a year? Yeah, definitely, it's one of those things as Man United fan we do have to accept. Box here, Leeds games 2 times in a week is a worry. It's unusual to get 2 wins versus the same side from previous experience. It will be interesting in regards to whatever team wins, whether you win or you lose, how that affects the next starting 11. Just in terms of the mind games, because you've got to learn so much. I don't think both teams can go at it the same way. There is going to be a different approach. So definitely stay tuned for the preview. We'll probably try and mix that in the review. Fingers crossed Larry's there to join us. But Adam, anything else news-wise I've missed or anything you do want to touch on before we wrap up?
The Samuel Arco is coming out, so we're going to try and sell Harry Maguire and Martial in the summer.
There's a few. Yeah, I've seen Samuel Lucas. I've seen that latest tweet in regards to Maguire and Anthony Martial, and I saw a few moments from him as well over the last week or so in regards to throwing some other names in there in regards to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay. It's a pivotal time for both the club and the players in regards to what they want to achieve, and there does have to be a middle ground found because we can't just go sell 4 or 5 players because it's going to be a very risky situation to bring 4 or 5 players in who are going to hit the ground running. So it is one of those things. My huge thing is in regards to, let's say, Maguire or McTominay, or I don't think Anthony Martial moves anywhere in the Premier League, but let's say a Maguire or a Scott McTominay, the interesting thing for me in regards to moving them on, which, look, I, as a fan of Scott McTominay, would like to see him stay. If Eric Ten Hag and he thinks there's a better chance of a future in the game away from Old Trafford, albeit go find that somewhere else. But Maguire and McTominay, my big issue in regards to selling them is who we sell them to. I think they're players we can get money for. Now, yes, we're not going to get 80 million for Maguire, but I think both players would fetch around 30 million. Now, Maguire should probably get a little bit more than that when you do see what other players go for. But that's significant money coming into the club. Now, not what other clubs would get. Obviously, Manchester United don't sell players like that. But we should get significant money in for them. My issue, though, is selling to rivals. It's so tight now in terms of there's 8 or 9 teams who can get top 4. Now, you can win the league once. Arsenal could win the league this season. Doesn't mean they're going to make the top 4 next season. There's a very real possibility they wouldn't make the top 4. So there's so many sort of rivals for that top 4 position. I just think in regards to English players, I know Scott McTominay is Scottish, but British players, they're very rarely going to go to the continent. We could sell an Anthony Martial somewhere in Spain or somewhere in Italy. When you're selling Maguire and Scott McTominay, they're going to go to a rival. And ultimately, we can sit here and say, they're not good enough for Manchester United, so that they're not going to strengthen a rival. Ultimately, if a club wants them, it's because they think they're going to strengthen them. So selling to a rival is just a hesitation for me. It's something I'll definitely think. Not saying it's against the rules possibility. Not saying I wouldn't sell to a Tottenham or a Newcastle or a Chelsea. If the price is right, the price is right. But I do have concerns and questions over who we're selling them to.
Yeah, well, I think I have no problems with selling to, obviously not to a direct rival like Arsenal or City, but to just another rival in the Premier League. If we're going to sign better players. So obviously when you think about it, if you're letting go of a player, you're probably going to sign someone who you think is better. You're not going to sell and sign someone worse. So at that stage, I don't really mind. But again, I can't see anyone who we compete with regularly is going to sign Harry Maguire. But maybe McTominay with Newcastle, we've seen their interest. But the only problem is with Maguire and Martial is they're both on 200k plus a week. Sorry. I can't see any club paying that for either of the 2 players. So,
do you think with Maguire here, Dion makes a point in regards to Maguire will want out surely? Do you think there is a thing we've spoken about, whether it be Anthony Martial or the extreme case Phil Jones, happy to sit on his wage and do nothing? There is a sense now that this could be, we might be wrong in this, but there is a common sort of sense amongst the fans that Maguire would take a pay cut. He would move to sort of further his England career and sort of play football. Do you agree with that, or do you think he is someone who would, hang on, you'll pay me 200 grand a week. I'm not going to go somewhere who's going to pay me 100 grand a week. Just your thoughts on Maguire's ambition?
Yeah, I think he does want to go somewhere where he will play obviously more minutes and maybe win trophies. But I can't see him, like you're saying, for example, 100K a week. That's 100K a week drop. I can't see him moving somewhere for that. Like say, for example, it's 30K a week or even 40K a week. Maybe
what do you think status in the game? Because ultimately there's so much, and a rightful criticism, not so much him, but it's his PR team and the people around him. Ultimately, he's responsible for those in terms of the way they act on social media and some of the stories they do put out. But in terms of, we're talking about his ambition in go and playing football and getting game time and potentially trophies or his England career. But another thing is just in regards to status in the game, in regards to he's Manchester United's captain. Wherever he goes now, even if he goes to a big club, he'd step down. You reached the pinnacle of Manchester United's captain. We saw him there at the lovely tribute outside Old Trafford with Erik ten Hag. In terms of he was representing the club, he was the Manchester United captain. Do you think that is something, regardless of the wage, okay, is he happy to take a pay cut? Is he not happy? In terms of, is he happy or is he willing to give up the status of being Manchester United's captain? Because that is a huge thing to have in football.
Yeah, no matter where you move, he's going to move. Like you're saying, it's a massive downgrade because he's not going to go be the captain of a club where he's going to move to, unless he's probably going to move. So if he goes to move to a club in the bottom half of the table, but yeah, when you're English and you're the captain of the biggest English club, it's hard. It's probably hard for him to even think of moving when you think about it now. It's like the biggest English club, the nation you've grown up in all your whole life, the club that's always been the biggest throughout his entire life, his sporting career, and he's the captain of that club. Is he just going to walk away from that? Even him this season may get the chance to win a League Cup. For him, he's the captain of League Cup winning side, even though it's Bruno who's our captain, basically is our captain. It's actually Maguire. So he's going to be the captain of if we do win it, a United winning side.
Yeah, no, it was the point I was going to wrap up on here. But Dion's 8-year contract, which was a possibility. Who knows what's going to happen there? But Boxmate's point was into my last point. Maguire and McTominay leaving to seek game time, I understand. But then obviously we'll see the transfer rumours sort of stem off the back of that. But that is my thinking. Obviously, I'm a fan of Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire. I'm sort of on the fence with, but obviously had the pleasure of meeting Maguire in Melbourne, and that has clouded my judgment on him because of on a personal level, I sort of do want the best for him. But I also look at Erik ten Hag and the future of Manchester United. And yes, I do see a positive future away from Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire. So ultimately, that's why I'm putting so much importance on this League Cup, because all I do want to see, I'd like to see Scott McTominay stay for personal reasons. If the future is away, I can't argue against that. But ultimately, in terms of the stick they have got over previous seasons, much of it unwarranted in my opinion, before they do move on in the summer, if that is the case, just get them a photo with the League Cup. Just have a trophy before you do that, leave. I would like to see that. Then if the future is away from Manchester United, albeit good luck. But I just want to see, that's why I was so desperate for Solskjaer to win that Europa League, because I knew he was going to get the sack eventually. Just have a trophy. Just have something fans can look back on and sort of pin something up on the wall. So fingers crossed Manchester United can get the job done. And, as Harry Maguire comes on in the 93rd minute to lift the cup, fingers crossed he allows Bruno Fernandes to do it with him. But look, Harry Maguire, as I said, it was the captain. He was there. And this is not a criticism of Bruno Fernandes. It was obviously a contractual thing and out of the player's control. But Harry Maguire was the one there. He was the club captain at the Munich Memorial, which was obviously a lovely tribute. They had the youth players there. They had players from the women's team, Erik ten Hag, the female manager as well. So fingers crossed we can get that over the line at the end of February. If you are in Sydney, Manchester United Supporters Club here in Sydney, the pub will be open 3:30 a.m. It's Monday morning, unfortunately, but 3:30 a.m. on a Monday. We will pack out the pub for the final against Newcastle. Obviously, an early start. I'm taking the day off Monday for sure. But if you are in Sydney, get in touch. We'll meet you down there, have a few beers, no matter the time. And fingers crossed, Erik ten Hag is able to start his Manchester United season or career with a cup. And who knows, could win a couple of cups. He could do the cup treble if we get through Barcelona. We've got West Ham in the FA Cup. So fingers crossed, all sort of roads lead to a successful Manchester United season early 2023. But Adam, absolute pleasure discussing Manchester United, Leeds, and Manchester City going down with $1 billion in the bank. But hopefully Larry will be back on Thursday with us to discuss Manchester United Leeds at Old Trafford. And fingers crossed it's a win. But Adam, pleasure as always.
Cheers, thank you.
No, easy. Hope everyone has a good couple of days in the live chat. Please do leave a like on the video on your way out, and we'll chat to you soon. Cheers.